got to stop choosing either I'm going to help this person or I'm going to help this person and do our best to try to help everybody. We got to learn how to say, okay, the East needs this. Let's see what we can do to get them what they need. Now, the South, even though the South may look good and all this other kind of stuff, it still has needs. So let's see if we can meet their needs as well. We got to stop choosing either I'm going to help this person or I'm going to help this person and do our best to try to help everybody, and it's not going to be an overnight thing. But progressively, we need to see every part of the city grow and get better. What we didn't have in North Lake Charles before, we need to see some remnants of it, at least by the end of these 4 years. What they didn't have in South Lake Charles, we need to see that grow as well in these 4 years. And every part of the city has to have that type of growth, And if we don't grow like that, we'll never grow as a city.
The Haitian Kings! The Haitian Kings! The Haitian Kings! This the Haitian Kings Podcast!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Haitian King Podcast. My name is Vadim Hector, and today I got Val Wishaw with me, and she's going to do the show. And then the guest we have on the podcast today is that's his second time on the podcast. And I know they just had re-election. I wanted to have him on the podcast so we can know what was going on in the community. And without further ado, Craig Marks.
Thank you for having me again, Vadim, and Val for sitting in.
It is our pleasure. It's going to be exciting. What the people don't know, we just spent the last hour talking off camera, so we should have a lot to unpack.
Yes. Okay. So you are just re-elected as a city council. What does that vote of confidence mean to your personality?
Well, it was shocking to me. When you're in these positions, you try not to be too modest and try not to be too bold, because the people are really who decides whether or not they want to have you back as leadership. And this particular time, I ran unopposed. I didn't have an opponent, so I didn't have to do much campaigning.
Oh, you want that?
No. And so in my mind, it showed that I at least was on path to do the right thing for my community. So this term, I hope to be better than I was the first time. And hopefully, if I decide to run again, won't have an opponent again.
What does that look like when you like you said, you want to be modest and you don't want to be cocky and bold, but what does that mean when you don't have a opponent? Like, how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good because it makes me feel excellent, proud, because I feel like I am meeting the needs of the community that I represent, because I live in a community that there's always somebody running. And for myself and Mr. Harvey, who ran unopposed in the districts that we live in, it says a lot about what we're doing in the community. Now, we're not perfect by far, but I think that we put an extra effort in place to meet the needs of the people. When someone calls me, I go meet them. When somebody I've dealt with before, they call me, their number's already in my phone, so I know who I'm talking to. And that's a hard thing to do over a 4-year period of time, to stay consistent. Still have some issues, still have some things we need to resolve throughout the community and throughout the city. But I'm glad to be a part of this particular council that made history by being the support system for the first African-American mayor. So I'm proud of that.
Okay, hold up. Because this mic, for some reason, I think you have to keep adjusting it. So every time you go down, every time you see it go down,
Okay.
you can just
Put you.
just unscrew it and put it back up. Okay.
All right, we back on?
Yes. So what did the people tell you during your campaign that really stuck with you?
Well, I guess people told me that when I hear people say, keep doing what you're doing. Sometimes when we go through different battles, different obstacles, when we hold in these positions, you can kind of get down, in this era of social media, because it's human nature to pay attention to those type of things. Like when you go on social media, it may be 5 people that are criticizing you for a decision that you made. And it's natural that weighs on you, not realizing that there are 100 people out there that like what you're doing. But those are the things that we focus on. Somehow our human nature causes us to focus on the negative first, and then we work from there. So that becomes the hard part. So when I hear people, I get down on myself and I hear people criticizing me for maybe the way my tone is, the way I address certain things, I can kind of get down. But then I'm walking in the grocery store and the lady looks at me and she said, "You look like that guy from the city council." And I say, "Yeah, that's me." And she say, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. You keep doing what you're doing." That gives me motivation to go back and continue to do what I do.
That's exciting. What's the current state of Lake Charles? Paint us that picture from your point of view. What's the current state?
From my point of view, promising. That's the position we in. We in a very crucial state with the economy. We in a crucial state with the climate of the nation. And Lake Charles is home. But we're in a position now where we have some prime opportunities to take advantage to make the city grow, to expand the city in annexation, to change some of the laws that have been in place for long, to make the city safer. But we have to do it as a council and as, being the governing body behind the mayor. We have to be cautious in how we approach these things so that we can do everything possible to drill down on the right solution to the problems that we are facing as a city.
You mentioned promising. What's challenging?
Well, challenging is old mindsets, old ways of doing things, getting people to come on board with progressive ideas, things that will really help a city like us grow. Believe it or not, there are some people out there that want Lake Charles to stay just as it is. We got enough. We got just enough where those that are in the upper echelon stay in the upper echelon, and those that are at the bottom continually struggle. And so we have an opportunity to change that mindset, to change the mindset of the people. A lot of times when we become accustomed to things, we don't like change. We get used to not having, so I don't expect anything. And I continue to be all right not having. It's time that we change that mindset collectively as a city, as a community, as a state. It's time for us to change that, and the challenging part is making decisions that are not popular, that people who are, for lack of a better word, everyday layman people, they're not behind the scenes. They don't go and dig and find out the information. They don't know the ins and outs of how this decision is going to affect us. So when we make certain decisions, you have the naysayers out there that said, "Oh, that's not the right decision. Oh, you bought and paid for," all these different things you hear being in this position. But a lot of things that we do, there are not immediate effects. We have to make the decision, line the things up, and wait for the outcome to occur, to progress. And that is the most challenging part of being on the council.
So what I was gonna ask you, what progress is being made in Lake Charles that people don't know yet?
Well, first of all, we have a continuation of the drainage that we've had. Over the last term that I served, that was the term where we had the hurricanes, where we had to regroup and rebuild Lake Charles from what it used to be and reinvent it all over again. So now you see a lot of work in our streets. You see a lot of work in our drainage system. You see a lot of work around town getting rid of dilapidated buildings and dilapidated houses and making the city just a pleasant place to be in. You see a lot of new businesses coming, both small and big businesses coming to the area and investing. We have an industrial boom that's coming. It's yet to see how that is going to affect us as a city, but it's things that we have to hang our hat on and look forward and say, in 10 years, we hope Lake Charles will look like it never looked before.
Yeah, and here's my thing. Let's go back to the drainage. I feel like we've been dealing with drainage since the hurricane. So if we had to gauge it, what are we looking at? Are we almost there?
Yes, we're almost there. And you have to understand, you'll never be able to say, "Hey, we've reached that pinnacle where we can stop," because we don't know what the weather's going to do. But what you can pay attention to is the streets is not staying flooded as long when we have rains. That you don't see drive down streets where you got to drive through puddles of water and cars stalled on the side of the road. Now, if we have a hurricane hit like we did last time, a once in a lifetime hurricane, then we might suffer some problems if it supersedes what we done already put in place. But you got to understand, before the hurricane came, let's put it that way. It had been years that we did any kind of work to keep up with the city. And, we was just kicking the can down the road until the hurricane hit. Now we are forced to do things and prepare, because now I know in my lifetime, I used to hear about Hurricane Audrey. I don't know if y'all familiar with Hurricane Audrey. It was one of the worst hurricanes to ever hit. We heard about that. We studied about that growing up. Now there are going to be people hearing about us, Hurricane Laura and Katrina and all these other hurricanes that we've experienced. Now we are making history in a lifetime. So now we have to make it where when we pass the baton on to the next generation of people who are going to be living when we dead and gone, they have to have something to work with where they don't lose everything. And if you remember back and you go look at some of the videos about how Lake Charles looked when the hurricanes hit, to see us now, most people around the country would never believe that we're the same city, and that comes from having solid leadership, making some hard decisions, doing some things that most people didn't find popular at the time, but look at it now.
Can we pause for a second and get back on the hurricanes? Like, I'm always curious, what does that look like from a leadership position when, let's say Laura, for example, you 3 days out, Laura is at a 3 and she's projected to be a 5. City council, like what happens behind the scenes? Like,
well, behind the scenes, you are making decisions that affect other people's lives, whether people get out the city in time, whether traffic flows right. You have to picture yourself, put it this way. While the hurricane is going on, you really don't have much time to evacuate your family because you're thinking on the whole. These last hurricanes that passed, I chose to stay through it and live through it and weather it. So I seen it from its worst to its best. So I lived through the storm and the wind and the telephone poles falling down. When the
is
city
that a requirement that you stay?
No, I just chose to stay for whatever reason. At that time I wasn't compelled to leave. And now in hindsight, it could have been something to do with the position I held, but I had the luxury of being one of the first people back in Lake Charles, not back in, but when the hurricane was over the next day and the sun came up, I was walking the streets, whereas it might take me 15 minutes to get from wherever I was to my house. It took me like 2 hours because you had to cross telephone poles. You had to go through trees. You couldn't drive down the streets, So when I've had the experience, and I call it a luxury in case it happens again, I'm already prepared for it. But it's overwhelming at some point to sit here and know that everybody in the city don't have any lights. You worried about how are people eating, how are they warming themselves, how are they doing whatever they would normally do, how are they maintaining, and the regular day-to-day opportunities that were going on when the hurricane had hit and all the trees was down and the people hadn't made it into the city yet to start cleaning it up. There were days like that, I never seen dark like that dark during the hurricane. We go outside right now and we think it's dark, but it wasn't like that. And when the hurricane hit, the nights were like you couldn't see in front of your hand for those first few days because you don't have no lights in the city, and those things, to look at our city now and to look at what the leadership had to go through at that time in order to get our city prepared. Every aspect of the city we had to make decisions on. When do we get the trucks in? When do we move that debris? How are we going to get them in here? Where are we going to pay for it from? All the damage exceeded what we had in our budget and what we had in our reserves. So now what do? Now we got to wait on the government to send us money, and that's a daunting thing, but by the grace of God and through leadership and persistence of not only just the leadership, the people, because things could have been a lot worse than what they were.
Well, let's say we got another hurricane just like that as of right now. So right now, you got experience from what happened. What would you do differently?
Well, first of all, we are made plans for evacuation routes. That would be different. When the hurricane hit last time, we wasn't prepared and we didn't think that we would ever be the ones going through it. So when it was time to evacuate, it was log jams on every avenue out. So now we've made paths to where people can get out. We have plans in place, both through the parish and the city, where if emergency has to happen, we know what to do. We have our emergency responders that have plans in place now. We have situations, and we know what parts of town may have a tendency to flood more than the others. So we know where to focus our attention. We know what's needed. We know how to stage our people so that they'll have a place to stay if they have to work through the hurricanes. We have all that knowledge. And again, that still may not prepare you for what's coming because we don't know what type of hurricane will hit. So it's a learning lesson, but you can never know too much. We have to build every year. Every year, we have to build on what we already have in order to make it better.
And that's a working relationship with you and with the council and the mayor, right?
Exactly.
So what does that working relationship looks like? Because you guys, like you said, you're going to make some decisions, and that's going to run hand in hand with the mayor.
Right.
So walk us through how that works.
Well, if you've been watching the first 100 days of the mayor's administration, there's been a lot of, for lack of a better word, contention. And to some people, it may give the impression that I can only speak for me, that the mayor and I don't get along, that I'm not for the mayor.
Do y'all get along? Just for the record.
We get along just as good as I got along with the last mayor, So, but this mayor happens to be one of my frat brothers, so I have a special kind of love for this particular mayor than I had for the other mayor. So if you look at the past few meetings when we had the issue going on about the sports complex, there was some contention there because I had a belief about it. The mayor had a belief about it. Councilman Harvey had a belief about it. The other councilman had a belief about it. And it was the first time that we had encountered that as a council. This is the first time that this council, went through anything of that magnitude. And I believe that it was some contention at that time. I'm still not satisfied with the final decision, but that's the vote. That's how this thing go. The idea is to get the council to vote and the majority rules. So we have our moments, but I want it to be known that I don't have anything against the mayor. I'm for the mayor. I want to see this mayor win. I want to be a part of that winning administration, but we have to make sure that we are making decisions based upon factual information, based upon what's best for the people, and based upon what we could actually accomplish in these 4 years.
Can you elaborate on the contention you had with the mayor with the sport complex? If you don't mind?
Perceptions are reality.
Okay.
How people perceive things are their reality. And some people who don't know me or those that do know me know how I am. I'm sort of a fiery type guy, especially when I figure like I'm right. When I figure I have the facts based on the decision that I'm about to make, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna represent the people that in the way that I feel like they deserve to be represented. Now, do I get my way all the time? Obviously not, because it didn't go in the direction that I would have liked it to go in. But I'm going to now take the opportunity to make sure that when it's put downtown, that it thrives. I'm going to put the same energy that I had to try and keep it in North Lake Charles. I'm going to put that same energy in making it succeed where it's going to be put. And that's the odd thing about this job. You can be on one side, but when the decision is made, as a leader, you still have to function and make sure that you are doing what's right for the city of Lake Charles and the people that you represent. And that's what I plan to do.
Vote for it, right?
Even if I didn't vote for it.
Got it right.
Because just because the vote didn't go my way, I'm still obligated to do the mission of the council as a whole.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because oftentimes in politics, you always say we have our differences, but hopefully you guys align more than you differ, right?
Yeah,
so what are some of the things that y'all do align on? The council
I would say over 80% of the things that we agree on. And now it may not be big to everybody else, but on a day-to-day basis, on a meeting day, from meeting to meeting, we vote on so many things that go by without any discussion or that go by without any contention. And I hate when people take passion as we don't get along. No, I am obligated by my position and by me wanting to get elected to this office to represent my people in a manner in which they have guided me. I have community meetings where we sit back, my community come and we meet, and they tell me the things that they want to see going on in Lake Charles. There are some projects that citizens around the city are not even aware of that's happening in different districts, that we are moving behind the scene. I'll give you an example. We had an issue in the village where it was some houses that had been there since the hurricanes that have become dilapidated, where homeless people have been going in and staying. We had a lot of complaints from that area. And it took a while for us to finally get the ball rolling with the housing authority to get these houses torn down, to get the community back where they want it to be, to get the community where the citizens could feel safe. And we're finally starting to get that point. And that's behind a collective effort of both the council, the mayor, the housing authority, the new housing authority director. All of these have to work together in order to make the city better. So a lot of times that you see the contention that you asked about, Vadim, it's because people are passionate on both sides, and sometimes our perspectives are our realities, and that's the way we move. But the ultimate goal is to do right for the citizens of Lake Charles.
So yeah, but those contentions is either way they both working on the favor of the people, or it's just like I don't know.
Well, it depends. It's I can't always say that if you vote against me, it's not for the people. You just may have a different idea of how you want to go about it than I do. Or I may have a different way of going about it than you do. Hopefully that whatever side you're on, you've done your homework. You've researched it. You've checked the laws. You've checked everything about that decision before you made that decision.
Well, let me ask you this then. So your contentions about the whole sport complex, right? So you want it to be in north of Lake Charles. So what is your position that you feel like it would have been better in the area than where it is voted to be now?
Because initially this project was designed to be in a community that it could build. It could help build. That was the purpose of this sports complex. A lot of people think it's just about, we just wanted it here because it's going to raise a lot of money and all this other kind of stuff. Like I said, one part of it, which I won't get into too much detail, is the fact that we couldn't keep all the proceeds from it. We could keep some of the money that it allows for us to run the facility, but most of the money has to go back to this fund. This fund that funded this sports complex, gave us the funding for this, came from a fund that is used around the state when there's disasters. They take that money and they use it to help build communities back up. And in turn, these communities put money back into this fund. So when the next area gets hit, they have a pot of money there to do the same thing that they did for Lake Charles. So, but our original motivation, which I'm a carryover from the last administration, the purpose of this was to put it in a community that would generate business growth, homeowner growth, and bring people back to the community. So in North Lake Charles, this was designed to help grow the community. It wasn't about revenue. It was about putting something in the community that would spurn people to come. Because if you're familiar with the sports circuit around the city of Lake Charles, other cities have things like this. There's one in Bryant, Texas, that I kind of modeled the dream of this on. You have 8 basketball courts, 16 volleyball courts. It has to be built to a certain size and a certain specification in order to qualify to be on a national or regional level. So when you put a facility like that in a community like North Lake Charles, it's gonna spurn business growth with all the other things we got, the potential for expanding the enterprise extension. All of these working together would have attracted businesses to come to this area. It might have been another Popeyes or another McDonald's or a shopping mall or a hotel. All of these things become the byproducts of a catalyst like the sports facility. If you go to Youngsville, down there by Lafayette, they have one. Booming city. Lafayette is finna build one. They hope to attract more businesses, and you know how Lafayette has grown. You have them all around the country. And we had the once in a lifetime opportunity to put something in a part of Lake Charles that needed a boost.
Where did that idea come from?
Well,
Like who? I'll let you.
The last administration under Nick Hunter came up with the idea. We did some work in the North Lake Charles community on Fitzgerald Road. I don't know if y'all familiar with it, but they got 2 housing complexes that are coming up in that area. That's going to help the area to grow. It's going to be affordable housing in that area that's going to help it to grow. And so at that time, the mayor reached out to me and Mr. Harvey and the other councils at the time and asked us, what did we think about that idea? And at first, I didn't know much about it. But when I started researching it and started looking, I said, man, this would be great. And when he said North Lake Charles, and we was like, man, you going to put this in North Lake Charles? And he was like, yeah. And we said, well, if you really going to put it there, we really going to back it. And then that's what happened. The dream came alive. The paperwork started getting going. But
Like, where did it come from? Did somebody just was Googling one day and was like, yeah, a sports complex. Hey, what do you think about, like,
yeah.
where did that stem
Well,
from?
I guess that idea comes from the previous mayor doing research, traveling, people coming back and saying these different type of things. I never really had a conversation with him to say, hey, man, what spurned that idea about you? Because once he presented it to us, we were sold. We were sold. And I'm not going to say that everybody was in favor of it, because there were people who didn't like the location from jump. There were people who didn't like the idea of a sports complex, and all of those things are part of the ideas, brainstorming, bringing new ideas to the area. That's part of it. But the purpose of that particular sports complex being in North Lake Charles was a strategic effort to help North Lake Charles grow, to help the city of Lake Charles grow, because everybody knows there's a drastic difference between driving north to south, as you go through the city. I'm not going to say that a lot of these things were purposeful, through the hurricanes, through the changing of times, through all those things, we found ourselves in that situation. And I think we're in a position now, or we're in a culture now, that we have to grow all parts of Lake Charles. We can't continue to expect people to elect us, and we can't grow the city as a whole.
I don't know if you keep up, if you're keeping up with the response and what people are saying online. One of the responses was, oh, somebody getting paid off. Like, why are they doing that? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Lake Charles. Like, what's your response?
Well, I know for a fact nobody's getting paid off. That's number one. You have two different factions, two different groups of people that think differently about where it should be. There's two different school of thoughts on why we want that in our community. The people downtown want it because it's going to generate people walking to their businesses in the downtown area. The people who wanted it in North Lake Charles is looking to give a boost to a community that's so desperately needed. So you got two different thoughts. And sadly enough, human nature kicks in to where if it didn't go into the favor of the people in North Lake Charles, they feel a certain type of way.
Yeah.
And it would have been the same way had the downtown area not gotten it, but we will see how it develops going forward, because now all of the information is out there. We've all had time to sit and think and really evaluate. Will it be successful where it is? Would it have been successful over there? All of that can be questioned till the end of time. The reality of it is going downtown. Now we as a council have to do what we can to make it prosper and to make it work for the city of Lake Charles.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, like, Lake Charles is I'm not going to say the only city, but every city I go to, downtown usually is the place where everything is booming at. And Lake Charles downtown is pretty dead to me in a sense. There's not too many things going on, They don't even have, the mall is not even downtown. Usually, like, other cities, it's just like downtown is where all this, you can go have fun and all the stuff. So to me, like, personally, when I heard about it, it's going to be downtown, I was like, oh, maybe that would help boost downtown. But from your perspective of it, I understand both sides of the argument, and I can see, like, because you can see the big difference between north of Lake Charles, between south of Lake Charles. Is big difference. You know what I mean? But if that would have helped the people of north of Lake Charles and bringing the community back up, I think that was a great idea. But is there anything else that they can bring to north of Lake Charles that can help north of Lake Charles get better?
I'll be honest with you. It's a lot of things that we can do to make it better, but we got to change our mindset. Our mindset, in my opinion, has to be that, let's just be brutally honest. The North and the South will never be the same. We will never be equal. We have different needs. Every part of the city have some needs, and we need to be more focused on meeting the needs of every area as opposed to the wants of every area. A lot of people want things in their area, but they don't necessarily need it. We have parts of the city that need things to grow, and just because the South is the South, they still have needs, just like the North have needs. We just need to a different degree. So as leadership, we got to learn how to balance those needs. We got to learn how to say, okay, the East needs this. Let's see what we can do to get them what they need. Now, the South, Even though the South may look good and all this other kind of stuff, it still has needs. So let's see if we can meet their needs as well. We got to stop choosing either I'm going to help this person or I'm going to help this person and do our best to try to help everybody, you know? And it's not going to be an overnight thing. But progressively, we need to see every part of the city grow and get better. You know, what we didn't have in North Lake Charles before, we need to see some remnants of it, at least by the end of these 4 years. What they didn't have in South Lake Charles, we need to see that grow as well in these 4 years. And every part of the city has to have that type of growth, you know? And if we don't grow like that, we'll never grow as a city.
So when you say like the needs, can you be a little, give us like a little specific, a little example? Would you say this is what North Lake Charles, from your point of view, they really need right now?
Okay, let's look at it like this. I'm in District F, right? District F used to be, back in the 70s and 80s, used to be the better part of town, right? So when it was the better part of town, they constructed it that way, meaning the drainage was different, the streets were bigger, all these different things because of the times. So now that the bigger or the money part of the city has grown to be the South Side, my district reaps the benefits of once being the better part of town. So I don't have the same need as North Lake Charles, whereas the drainage might have been neglected in North Lake Charles for decades. My area had a head start because it was once the better part of town. Businesses, because in the 80s, if you go back, I graduated high school in 1985. In 1985, if you're not from here and you look at the south of 210, it was all woods. I graduated in 85. By the time I came home in 95, you could see roads and everything start to flourish in that side of the town. By the time I came home for my 20th reunion, it was a whole totally different part of town because we invested in it. We put the things that wanted to grow. We wanted the businesses, we put them there. We wanted, when new businesses come, we bring them to that part of town. And quite naturally, if a business come and they look at the north side and then look at the south side, they're gonna say, well, I wanna go over here. Well, you're gonna let them go as long as you got the land. But we gotta find a way. North Lake Charles is hurting for businesses. It's hurting for revenue, tax base that could help that community grow. And we gotta learn to be better stewards of the whole city. So Lake Charles, North Lake Charles, Mid Lake Charles, we need grocery stores. We need small businesses. We need big businesses. We need industry that will make it thrive. But the construction of our city limits us sometimes because back in the day, we had areas that were strictly residential. Now you see businesses pop up in those residential neighborhoods. So zoning laws have to change and all these different things have to take place in order for us to get businesses to grow. But there's nothing in the city that's lacking in any part that we can't get. But now, there's another caveat to that. A lot of this depends on the people too. Because if we open businesses in North Lake Charles and the citizens don't frequent those businesses, don't spend their money at those businesses are not gonna stay. They're gonna go south of town. And what's ironic about it, when you look at some of the businesses that's the southern part of town, it's people from this side that will go to that side to purchase the goods. But when this same store was in the north side, you wouldn't go to it. So
Hector, why are you not going to the north side? Why are you driving to the south side?
But if one would say, because they don't feel like North of Lake Charles is a safe place. So I mean, safety is a big thing. So I mean, what would you say to that?
I would say to that, that's why I tell people deal in facts. The northern part of the city is the safest part of the city. You check the records. You check the police reports. It's the safest part of the city. Because here's what we miss. How many people you know rob poor people? Robbers go looking for the place that got stuff. Now, you can be deceived by what they put on the news. You can be deceived because they had a shooting on a street in North Lake Charles that the whole city is bad. There's killings going on throughout the whole city. You just don't hear as much advertised about it as you do others because we don't have a monopoly on the news. We can't tell the news how to sensationalize something or how to put something out. You know what I'm saying? So when you check it and you saying The north part is the most unsafe part of the city. What's the basis of that? Most times you hear people say that is because he said it and he listened and then he repeated and then he repeated. Go read the reports.
Is that still a stigma for North Lake Charles,
Yes,
though?
it is. It is. It's still a stigma that it's unsafe, that if you go in this part of town, you got to watch your person out. It's still there, but that's not so.
Is that something you heard personally?
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, if you live in Lake Charles, you always got the assumption that north of Lake Charles is the place that's really unsafe. And even the people that I speak with, like, American people would tell you, like, north of Lake Charles is the place where it's
but that's not people who live here. People who live here, no. But people who got motives to not want business to go there, that's what they're going to tell the businesses that come. It's not safe. It's not this. It's not that. That, you used to hear like Highway 14. Highway 14 used to be one of the most booming areas in the city. But now you hear that, there's more going out the back door than the front door. That's what's being perpetuated by those who have motivations to move south of town. If you want to move south of town, I'm not telling you don't. I represent the whole city. I want business no matter where it is. But let's stop putting out false narratives that one part of town is safer than the other part of town without the facts. The facts support what I'm saying. You go check the uniform crime reports. You go to the police station and see where high part of crimes in it. You see that the center city is where most of your crimes are happening. And that's the area which is growing now, because that's the area that if I'm going steal, I'm not going steal from poor people. What am I going to steal from them? I'm going to go where there's valuable things at. But people don't deal like that. We deal on perceptions and myths and what we think because so-and-so said it. And that's what hurts a lot of communities, not just in Lake Charles. It's like saying when you walk across, you see a black man walking down the street, and you pull up to the red light and you lock your door. That's based upon myths that have been put out. Yes, there's a lot of African-American crime on African-American crime because we're in close proximity to each other. My next door neighbor is an African-American. So if anything going to happen, it's likely it's going to happen between us, and we're in the same community. So we use those type of misconceptions without actually going and checking the facts of what's going on in the city.
Yeah, but I mean, and this is like I'm a black man.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Black men commit a lot of crimes, and then so poverty is not helping us either. And then the music, we're like the way we.
But is it only happening to black men?
No, it doesn't. But I'm just saying that. But you're looking at per capita, like you're looking at the amount of black crimes that commit for the amount. I think we only 13% the United States. I'm just saying, you see like the young guns these days, the wine you would say. So the music is not helping. So when you see it's not helping like the image of us in a sense.
I get that, and that's what we have to do better as a people. But when you put a narrative out that's only happening to us, that's not true. Now, we may be the ones penalized more than anybody. We may be the ones locked in a system more than anybody, but that's not reflective of what's going on in the community. That's not reflective of, you got so many people. The only difference, if I had to say this, the only difference between the most people that are incarcerated and that are not is that one got caught and one didn't. But we both did the crime.
Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not one of those people that say we don't commit crimes, we don't kill, we don't that. I'm saying that when you start to put those stigmas on different areas of the city, it hurts. Just like I look at the makeup of the schools. At one time in my lifetime, the schools in the northern part of the city were dominant in sports and all of that. But then the laws changed, where you could go across town, but because of minority majority. And so you could go to another school now. You can go to a school that you always thought was best. And so now it's flipped. So our athletes, our neighborhood schools are starting to suffer because our kids are allowed to go anywhere in the city because of the failing schools. Well, the only way to remedy that is to make these schools up to par where they're not failing. So now everybody has to stay in their community. When I went to school when I was a kid, I walked maybe 2 blocks to every school. My junior high, my elementary, my high school was all less than 2 blocks away from my house. And everybody that grew up in that community knew where you were going. You knew what elementary school you was going to, you knew what high school was going to, and you knew what junior high school you was going to. But here's the stigma with us. We feel that when we make it, we got to move out. We go chasing whatever's on the other side, whatever we feel we are chasing. And we leave these communities. This is why North Lake Charles is like it is. So many people have left. And these were great communities in the beginning. You know, you look at Oak Park, my district, and District C. We share those districts. We're basically the shoulders of the city. That's where you have a melting pot of every type of people. Rich, poor, well-off, black, white, Mexican, anything you want to find, any culture you want to find, we have it in District F and District C. But you don't hear a lot of talk about that because we live in a city that deal in extremes. Either you're north or south. We rarely hear people talk about Lake Charles as a whole.
Hey, you still watching, right? That means you're enjoying it. So follow, like, share, subscribe.
All right, let's get back to the show.
And when you talk about we were talking about businesses and growth, right? Like even as a female, and Tiffany can probably attest to this, like I'm gonna go where I can get everything done.
Right.
Right. Like even in commercial real estate, right? One of the things we look at is what's the traffic reports look like, right? So how's the city helping with the growth, with the business growth, with the development, with the housing affordability that we have? What is the city council doing about that?
Well, here's what we need to understand. Affordable housing is a business. We can't regulate how much people charge for their houses. You know, the market dictates for itself, you know, what a house is going to cost. Now, the areas make it better, which means that if we got top-notch schools, well, people are going to want to go to those areas. If we got shopping centers, people are going to go to those areas. So what the city is doing, we have small business programs. We have incentives where people can become vendors for the city to help them grow their businesses. We have those type of programs that are in place. But what we're trying to do is nurture the small business. You know, those people that, most businesses that start out right now, you and I talked about this before the interview, they don't have the means to have a storefront. You know, so we have programs like the Louisiana Chamber of Commerce that's coming over here on 171. They're going to house some of these small businesses that are going to be startup businesses. The Seed Center at McNeese, they have programs that incubate small businesses that's getting started. You got a certain amount of time that they'll let you stay in this building to grow your business. But those businesses have to do their part to learn what it takes to run a business and to help a business grow. You know, I've seen a lot of businesses that open up and they're trying to open the business up with their paycheck, you know, so they got to pay their bills at home and use the same money to run the business. That's not good business sense. You know, I'm not a business person, so I couldn't tell them what's the proper way, but there are programs out there, you know, that will help you develop and grow your business. So that's what the city is promoting. If you got a business and you want to open it up in the city, come to City Hall. Between the mayor and his administration, they're going to help you or guide you in the right place to teach you about permitting, to teaching about zoning ordinances, to teach you about where you should locate that's feasible for the type of business you have. And it goes from there.
Now, when you say that, Craig, like, so I'm a small business, right? Because you say, oh, the mayor's going to help you. This, like, what does that look like? I just show up at City Hall and say, okay, they told me to come talk to you.
Well,
like, what's the path? What does that look like?
When I say the mayor, I don't necessarily mean the mayor is going to walk you to that spot. What I mean, the mayor has put in things in place in various departments, whether it be planning and zoning, whether it be procurement, whether it be community development. There are departments in the city, in City Hall, that you go to that you get instruction about every aspect of your business. If you're building your business from the ground up, then you know you need inspections on whether the plumbing is right, whether you're following codes. We have a department about that. We have departments where you can become a vendor for the city, and they'll guide you on how the city you can do contracts with the city. So when you go there, you can either call your city councilman, you can call the mayor's hotline, you can go downstairs, walk into City Hall and say, look, I'm looking for permitting. They're going to tell you, hey, permit is on the 7th floor. So that's how that looks, you know, but you have to be the person that put forth the effort, because here's the difference. We only have a certain amount of people in leadership, but we have a lot of citizens. You know, so we may not be able to be hands-on with every citizen, but I guarantee you, you're a phone call away from knowing where you need to go to get whatever it is you need to do for your small business.
So like right now, so what industries or opportunities you would like to see come to Lake Charles, like we'd like to bring to Lake Charles?
Well, I tell you what, Vadim, I've been involved in a program that they have going on called the Hazardous Mitigation Program. That's a program where they're training people to learn how to lift houses, whether you're on a slab or whether you're on piers. And on the surface right now, people don't really understand how big that program is slated to become. I don't know if you were here when the big craze came about being P-Techs, getting jobs at the plant.
Yeah.
That became, it used to be a time where you just got into the plant by who you knew. If you knew somebody in there, you can get into the plant. Well, then it was discovered that around here, industry is what drives. Most of us, like myself, we went to college, but you go to college 4 years, you graduate, you got a degree in criminal justice, and you out here scraping to get a job, right? But I got a classmate that never went to college that got on at the plant and he making $60 an hour. And you start to see that. So now people started to bypass the traditional college route to go and work at the plants. So the industry discovered that there was a lot of people out there that wanted to work at the plant. Not only that, the plants needed a lot of people. So here comes the P-Tech program. So now you go to school and you get a degree to go and work at the plants. So that became a big industry. Sewella is a big provider in the P-Tech industry. Well, here we come in with this hazard mitigation program. And because of the hurricanes—
What is it called again?
The Hazard Mitigation Program. And it's run by a group called CREST. I don't know what the acronym's from, but it's a guy by the Mr. Carl Evans, and I forget Mr. Rod's name, but they're housed at Sewella. They're housed at Sewella. Sewella has a site set up where they teach you. It's a 6-week course that they teach you how to do this. And right now, this is the first program of its kind in the world. So it's starting right here in Southwest Louisiana. And what it does is anybody can go. You just have a minimum requirement to be 18 years old. Now, if you can't work, they're trying now to make it where they have night classes as well. But they just graduated their first program. And I'll tell you what that is. Since the hurricanes, they have discovered that we got some low-lying areas. So a lot of houses have to be elevated. Not only elevated, but a lot of buildings have to be storm-proof. There are certain technology.
Were they giving out grants for that at one point?
Yes. The program is ran on a grant. And what we're trying to do is get it out there where the legislature will continually to fund that grant, because the Corps of Engineers for the United States have deemed this area as one of those areas within the next 20 years, we got to have close to 3,000 houses elevated. And from that point forward, they're going to start changing the requirements. So this particular program is putting people on the ground floor of learning how to be a part of that elevation process, teaching them how to elevate houses. There's not many companies in the world like this. We have 2 or 3, I think, in Louisiana, but the majority of them are in areas like Pennsylvania, Connecticut, different places like that have a real need for elevating houses. Now it's starting to come here. And those houses are already designated. These buildings are already designated that within the next decade, they're going to have to be done. And you might say,
what area of town are you referring to?
Well, it's all through. Right now, it's designated in 3 parishes: Cameron Parish, Jeff Davis Parish, and Calcasieu Parish. That's what the Corps of Engineers has come in and done a study. There's a map. You can look at the FEMA map and go and see all of this. And you might say, well, how does that play a role down here? Well, if your house is not elevated and it sits in the flood zone, it's going to be hard for you to get insurance on it. So it's going to be driven by insurance. If you can't get your house insured, what you do when the storm hit? What
Not
you do
just
when flooding
that, some
hit?
of the grants that they have too, right?
Yeah.
Like I know my best friend's mom, she lives on Cactus Drive, and her house was flooded. And because she has that gully to the back,
Right.
she went to the housing authority because
And
they
they-
were giving
they
her
granted
the
the grant,
grants.
yes.
And they told her they couldn't help her because she was in a flood zone.
Right. And that's going to be happening all over, because the flood zones are not like they were before. You used to might not live in a flood zone, but now because FEMA has redrawn the maps, you may be in a flood zone now. And now what that prompts your insurance to do is they increase it because the liability is greater now, or you won't be able to get flood insurance. And if you don't get flood insurance, who's going to finance your house?
Right. I think this goes to our next question as far as being connected, because we feel, when we talk about this, how, and I don't know how the council feels about this, that there's a disconnect between what's going on with the city, the council, and then what the public is keeping up with. So how do you keep those folks, your constituents, like you said, how do you keep them connected?
Well, it's several ways you can do this. And it's just by the grace of God that maybe in 2022, when I first got on the council, I started advocating to have the meetings televised. And at that time, it was reluctance, but ultimately we got it done. So at one point, we were televising just the regular meetings, and it would air on the government channel. And then, like I said, just by the grace of God, the law changed. And the law said all meetings have to be televised now. So now our agenda meetings and our regular meetings are televised, and they're televised on YouTube. The Lake Charles City Council has its own YouTube page where you can go and watch every meeting that's taking place. Now, here's the caveat to that. What I think is almost, I don't know how to put it, a blessing that's a curse. The televising the meetings was a blessing. The curse is not a lot of people want to come to the meetings now. Yeah. And the fact and the curse of that is we can televise the meetings and be transparent as they're happening, but your voice is still not there telling us what we need to do. For instance, the agenda meetings, you can come and speak about any topic you want. Any citizen can come and address the mayor and his administration and address the council about any topic. If you don't come and voice your opinion, we're relied on us to find out about it. And I'm not saying we can't do it. I'm saying it's going to take a while because we are one person for each district that's handling hundreds of people. So if you don't come in and tell me you got a problem with homelessness, if you got a problem with vacant houses, you got a problem about animal control, all these different things, if you don't come voice your opinion where we can act on it, then we're just a television show.
We're in 2025, right? And I think this goes back to the pandemic, right? Most people, if we can, we're not showing up in person, especially our generation, right? So why would they have to physically be there? They couldn't open up a chat or a Zoom where people can just get online and voice that same opinion, or y'all want bodies in the room? And
why should it be that easy?
I'm not saying that it should, but I'm just saying why not?
Because by the time
why shouldn't it be that easy?
Because by the time I get your message, your situation has exacerbated itself. It's got worse because.
No, I'm talking about real time messages.
Yes, but you got to have somebody to sit there and read it. You got to have somebody to write it down. You got to have somebody divide what district is in. So that's going to take time. We can't answer your questions as you answer them, but when you come, that's why we want you in the meeting. Because when you come to the meeting and you standing here face to face and you say, Mr. Marks, I've been having a problem in your district with homelessness and people coming through my yard at night. That's been going on for 6 months. Well, now you're making me aware of it. I can handle it right now. I can go out tomorrow morning. I'm going to be in your area taking pictures with the police department, with the neighborhood police, and we're going to be addressing that issue right then. But we have other means like the mayor's hotline where you can call in and report a problem. But you have to understand, when you call and report, you're not the only one calling in. We might get 1,200 calls a day. So we have to sift through that. We have to break it down into the district. We have to get with the councilman and find out, hey, Mr. Harvey, Mr. Craig, Mr. Bilbo, here's all the names you got. So now I'm working. This is not a full-time job. So now when I'm off, when my 7 days off or my days off come around, now I can get around to doing what's supposed to be done. But when you come in that meeting, we taking them notes down right then. It's like everybody say, why I got to come to the meeting? Why I got to come? Because that's where it's happening. Why are you on social media? Why can't you take time and put it on social media and sit there all day and express your gripes on social media and it ain't reaching nobody?
But like, do you just go to the meeting and then you you got a chance to speak, or do you have to send your complaint before
No,
you
no.
get to the meeting?
You bring your complaint with you. You come in, you fill out a green card saying you want to speak,
Okay.
and you go to the mic. And we give you 3 minutes, and if you need more, we vote on giving you more, and you tell us what your complaint is. And you'll be surprised how much faster that is as opposed to somebody who's calling on the phone, somebody who may do like Val say, send it in by Zoom. Because we got to research all that. Right now, when you tell me I'm face to face with you, I'm looking at you, I'm telling you, what's your address? What's your phone number? I'll be there in the morning. I'm coming to take care of that problem. Now, I'm not saying we're always going to rectify it, but I'm on your problem now because you took the time to come. You know, that's why I encourage people to come to the meetings. It's just like voting. People say, well, I got to go vote. Ain't nothing going to change. How you know if you don't vote? It's proof that things going to change. We had one mayor the last 4 years. People went out and vote, and it changed to another mayor. We had different people on the council one time. People went out and vote. It changed. We had a president one time. People went out and vote, or people didn't go out and vote, and it changed. So whether you're voting or not voting, people need to understand you're casting a vote. When you don't vote, you are saying you're all right with what goes on. So whoever wins the vote, if you didn't vote, you was aligned with them.
Let's talk about your votes. How are you holding yourself accountable this time around?
Well, it's not this time. I've held myself accountable for the first time too. This time, I'm more conscious of the traps that are out there. I'm more conscious of the people that cry wolf now. You know, so I have a better understanding of priorities. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing about people that's natural. Once I give you some attention, you figure like you can call me whenever something go down, every time, like you're the only constituent that I have to deal with. So I've learned to be courteous, to let them know, hey, here's the process for what you got to get done. I need you to take the initiative to go to City Hall and go to this department. Let me know if it don't get resolved, and I can move on to the next one. You know, so I've learned to hold myself accountable in the manner that there are ways that you have to learn the process. First of all, you have to learn the job. You have to know what you can and cannot do. Because what I will not do is lead a constituent into believing that I can fix a problem that I can't fix. That's the worst thing you can do in any form of leadership. Instead of just being transparent, look, this is not a city issue. This is a parish issue. I can tell you where to go. I can direct you where to go. And from there you go. But any problem that you have, I will do my best to make sure that that problem is rectified. You know, and if I can't, I'm going to give you that answer.
But you just bring priorities, so I'm glad you say that. So now you can know how to set up your priorities. So
Right.
Right now, what are your top priorities for this term?
For this term, one of the top priorities, I think I'll break it down for you. As a council, I think one of my priorities is making the city grow. And I know that sounds generic, but when I say make the city grow, I'm talking about the boundaries of the city. Expanding the city out to where we can be bigger and broader and bring more residents and provide more services to the people. Now, that's no easy task because not everybody wants to be in the city because a lot of people don't want to follow rules. When you live in the parish, it's more lax than living in the city. But I think that if we don't grow our population number-wise, land-wise, we're going to suffer down the road because we coming into the point to where we're congesting a lot of areas. If you drive south, by the time you get to, let's say, Ham Reed Road, you're almost out the city. So we need to grow. That is one of my priorities for the city. For my district, I want to create a family-oriented environment. You know, we got some things, I got some plans to put a park on Fifth Avenue, a park where the community can come out and congregate, where you can go, a safe space. You know, my priority is making every part of my community safe, making it a place where people can feel like they're heard, you know, when they reach out to me. And that's my priority for this term, is to show my constituents that District F is a priority within the city.
So where like in your like where you see District F, right?
Uh-huh.
What is the most issue you get called from your residents?
In District F, I think the biggest problem that we get is people not taking care of their homes. Like they cut the grass and they blow it in the street and it clogs the drains up. They got old cars that they put in the yard and they won't move. We have ordinances for that. If you got a car in your yard and it doesn't have a license plate, not a service, it's supposed to be covered. It's supposed to be covered by the type of car it is. You got a cover that goes with that car. It needs to be put on there. It has to be on a slab. It can't be just sitting on the ground. So I guess you could say property standards issues is the biggest thing that I have in my district, and it's gotten better, but over time, like when you transition from the summer to the winter, people get lax. It's cold outside. We can't go out and do what we used to do, during the summertime, but we got to stay on top of it because people want to live in a place that's clean, that you can walk out in the street and you ain't got to worry about trash everywhere, and I think the old park, the Esplanade area that's on Common Street, the Cactus Drive area, all those areas are a lot better than they were 4 or 5 years ago, when I first got into office. And it's not all due to me, it's due to the citizens and the pride that they have for District F.
Yeah, to me, like, even though when you bring, like, having the meeting and stuff like that, because I sit down to one of those meetings, like, from where I'm from, to me, it was amazing because I'm seeing, like, people and had the chance to come talk about what's going on.
Exactly.
And I was just like, a kid in the candy store, just looking at how just people come and talking about the issues, the problem. And, from Haiti, we don't have that. You know what I mean? So to me, it was just like, I don't know, so many things can be happening that's like, it amazed me in a sense, like just the little things. The
Right.
people.
You want to run for office? Is that what you're saying?
No. For the people that do not have, like, they don't know what they have actually, like, compared to a different country. You know what I mean? So
Right.
to me, that was like, I thought that was cool. Like, seeing,
Yeah.
like, people can come in and speak to, stuff
And
like that.
Vadim, one of the biggest things that I've learned that people thrive. People just want to be heard. They want to know that somebody is listening to their problem. They understand. I think the average person understands that there's a limit to what I can do. I think the average person understands that. But they want to know that they're being heard and that their concern is important. I may have residents that are elderly that will call me because a cat is having babies, and there's cats in the neighborhood and they having babies everywhere. And to the average person that gets around every day, man, why? I'm gonna be worried about cats. But to that person, that is a big deal. And that is part of my job. I can't have something that I just not gonna go see or just not gonna go try to rectify the problem. Because now it's making my constituents feel like they're not important enough. I wanted your vote, but I'm not willing to go and hear the mildest of complaints. It could be, I get complaints about people leaving their trash cans at the end of the road.
So wait, are you saying you're going out there and looking for the cat with the kitties?
Yes.
Seriously, you are?
Yes, because I have the same problem myself. And
Hector's off like 5-6 days out of a month.
Shit. I mean, I couldn't do a job like this.
Yes.
But I mean, people like you that just take the time and still care about stuff like this.
Right.
I mean, I guess that's what make you good at your job, I guess.
Yeah, and I hope that's what the people appreciate. Because I don't take nothing lightly that they call. If you find somebody that's upset with me, they're upset because I couldn't fix their problem. And I'm all right with that. But they're not going to tell you that I didn't try. Now, you can be upset. That's your right. But it only goes so far. But I don't minimize any complaint.
But to me, like, that's petty, though. So, like, somebody leave their
that's
trash.
why you're not gonna be in office.
I'm just saying, like, so somebody called for the trash because the man left the trash out there, and then you felt compelled to call the city council just
because
for that?
see, it's the thing like this. People want to know who they can go and cry to, and I don't mean cry in a negative way. Some people want to be heard. It could be an elderly person that's living alone. That might be the only attention they get throughout the day is to call their city councilman and talk. I got one old guy, he calls me, he lives in Esplanade, and he had some branches across the street. It wasn't his branches, but he called me about something in his yard. And while I was there, I noticed the branches across the street. And, I asked him about it, and he got to talking and stuff. So I called the trash people and asked them, hey, man, can y'all make a pass here and pick those branches up? And they came and done that. And when he woke up the next morning and saw it was gone, he called me on the phone, and you swear to God, it was Christmas. You know,
Amen
that makes
to
my
that.
job worth doing.
Hector, what you would have did? What you would have did?
I would do the same thing. So what you want me to say on camera? That I wouldn't do that.
Good answer.
But I mean, I'm glad you say that. So tell me, like, give me like you just right now. That was a good example. So give me like a situation that was like a bad, like something like that's a good thing. Give me a worst thing that ever happened as a city council.
I think one of the worst things in my district, I'll stick to my district, is when I have a resident come report that someone else next door to them is not taking care of their house. You know, and in the grand scheme of things, you might say, that's their house. They don't have to do this and have to. Yes, you have to do. Because there are city ordinances about not cutting your grass, piling junk up in your yard and leaving it there. This guy right here got a $200,000, $300,000 house that he values and he keeps up with. The person on the other side got the same thing. And I got you in the middle. You don't cut your grass. Your grass is high. It's overgrowing the house. You got cars in the yard. You know, when you park your car in O Park, if you don't have an alley, you have to park on the street. But some people park in the grass. You know, just drive up on their yard and park on the grass. I try to go.
So I cannot park on my own grass.
But you can park on your own grass. Let me tell you like this. In my district, there used to be homeowners association.
Yeah.
Where they had rules where a house had to be a certain size. You couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. It used to be said that you can't put a driveway generally in the front of your house. But some people do it. They do it illegally because I can't get around, or property standards can't get around and see you when you're doing it. So by the time we come around, it's already built. So we thought it was there already. But that's a violation.
Wait, you say that again? You can't put a what?
You can't put a driveway, just make a driveway in the front of your house. You can't do that. You have to go get a permit for that.
Oh, okay, yeah, with the permitting.
Yes, but
You're saying if there's a home that previously didn't have a driveway,
Right.
you can't
Now-
just, today's a perfect day for me to pour that driveway. Okay,
Exactly
yeah,
right.
you have to go get a permit.
You got to go get your permit and do that. But you have a lot of people that do things.
But
They
I mean,
yes.
something like this happened to me. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess.
It's-
guess
And
be-
just
I
for
guess
record,
being an
just for
immigrant-
record, when that does happen and you get ready to sell, the driveway isn't an issue. But I've had some homeowners where I'm like, hey, you did this extension. Did you do permitting?
Exactly.
No. I had one where he extended the den area,
Right.
but he closed off the window to a bedroom where a
Right.
bedroom has to have, it's a
An
fire
egress.
hazard. It's an
Egress,
issue. It's a liability. And we ended up working it out. We had to
But
make a window.
just-
But
just-
yeah, that's issues.
Just like you said, Val, most people don't know that the city can come in and make you tear that down.
I extended. You know what?
Oh, so you that guy.
I didn't know, but just that's based
Yeah.
on ignorance because I'm thinking like it's my house. I'm not. I
Right.
think it's the immigration thing. It's not an excuse, but I didn't know.
Right.
So I just think like it's my house. I can do whatever
Right.
I want.
Tiffany, did he
Right.
just use that?
and so
did
I
he
just-
just do that?
I
that's-
just did.
You know, we talked about the trash can earlier.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that there's a certain time by law that you can have your trash can out. You bring your trash can to the road at 7 o'clock in the morning. Your trash can is supposed to be back by 7 o'clock that night. You're supposed to pull it from the street. But we got so lax to where we don't understand that there are laws in place for just about everything you do.
Oh,
There's
I
an
know. And this
ordinance.
Back
contract.
to, what did you do? What did you?
Never mind. Just let's get next question.
I'm trying to figure out if we can sell this house for
Yeah, we
whatever
can.
point. That's what I'm wondering.
No, he was
Well,
not
see now,
bad. He's not
Vadim
bad.
lives in the parish.
Yeah.
So there's a different set of guidelines.
No, I
than
think
in the
he's
city.
fine though. I think he just
Yeah.
extended the driveway. There was
This
already
was not
there
the
was a
driveway.
driveway there
No.
already, right? Like that's what
No,
we
yeah,
gonna
all
say.
that stuff was already there. I just
Yeah.
extended is it patio? I just extended that. So
Yeah.
I didn't know.
What would? Because it seems like you're highly motivated, right?
Mhm.
What would success look like for you at the end of this term? If you say, you know what, if we are able to accomplish this, then I had a successful term. What is that?
If I can start in the village, get all those help to assist the housing authority, get all those vacant houses torn down, get some contractors in to buy the land and build some more houses conducive to that neighborhood and grow the village. If I can get a pocket park built on Fifth Avenue where that community and the surrounding community can come out and have concerts and picnics and different things like that on Fifth Avenue. if I can increase the property standards in the Old Park area, where people are more conscious of how they keep their houses and how they keep their yards and how they keep their streets, then I've been successful in that part of the district. If I can go out to the Esplanade area and stop the flooding that they have on some streets, to stop the Entergy right now is going around cutting down trees that are around power lines. But they are cutting these trees down horribly. You know, where you had a pretty tree in your front yard, they go and they just cut it back, and now that tree look like it's a hand with 3 fingers broken. You know, if I can stop that, if I can communicate between my community policing and the police department and make the whole District F area safer, you know, where people can walk on the streets at night. I want to make Fifth Avenue look like the avenues in Houston, where it's a delight to walk down that street at night. You and your girl may take a walk down that street, you know, and everything will be safe. I think in the Brentwood area, we have a project going now where we're making both of those baseball fields college, high school ready. So hopefully by the mid part of this summer, we'll have a girls softball field and a boys baseball field where we can have events in that particular neighborhood for high school baseball and girls softball, fast pitch. You know, if I can get those projects off the ground, I feel like I have done what I was put out to do for my second term.
So
right,
what?
y'all heard it here first, right? When's the end of this term?
The second term.
When's it end of?
3 years and 6 months, I think it is from now.
Well, God willing, we're
Yes.
coming back in 3 years. We're gonna see how successful we were in this
And
term.
now
Is that fair?
I just want to put it in circulation that all has to be accomplished by a collective of the council and the administration working together to make that on. Now, I don't want nobody to think that if these things happen, it happened because of me and me alone.
Right.
It will be a collective of all of the council members from every district and the mayor and his administration.
But you heard it here first.
Yes, you heard it here
So,
first.
so what motivates you to keep doing this job, especially when it gets difficult?
Well, I love people. I'm a people person. I believe in people. You know, I believe in helping and making people understand that, man, you'd be surprised what a little hand up can do for somebody. You know, you may not think that this podcast helps people, but it does. You know, the other night I was going through your podcast and I didn't realize you had as many interviews as you had. And I started just clicking on them and reading and listening. And I could actually go through your podcast and find something that'll help me, whether it be investment, whether it be what's going on in the government, whether it be what's going on in entertainment, MMA fighting, all of that is going on in there. You know, so I say that to give an example of, I just want to make a difference. You know, what you do might start out as a passion for you, but eventually it becomes motivation for somebody else, help to somebody else. You never know who's sitting at home not feeling good in these holidays, you know, and they go and they click on Haitian Kings and they see y'all interviewing somebody about a family member or helping people, and that takes them through the next day, you know. So that's my motivation for doing what I do. I love Lake Charles. I never wanted to leave Lake Charles, and I still don't want to leave Lake Charles, but I want it to be the best Lake Charles that it can be. And if I can be a part of it, I don't plan on sitting in this seat for no long period of time. I don't want to be one of those people. You know, maybe I'll aspire and go into the legislature or some other higher form of government, you know, before I retire. So that's my goal. If I can help people, I'm satisfied.
So what sacrifice come, you know, with the public service that people don't often see?
You can't do what everybody else can do. You know, there's places I used to go that I don't go no more because of this social media time, because of these phones with these cameras. You always got to be on alert. It's like I tell you about certain interviews. Certain people can get on social media and say whatever they want to say because there's no accountability. When we hold these positions, we're accountable. We're accountable to the people. We can be fact checked. Every lie we tell can be, you can go back and find the records to say, hey, you didn't say that when you said that, Craig. You didn't say that in the meeting last Thursday. And you can go back and you can check it. So most people don't understand, you know, it looks easy when you see the council up there and everybody's in agreement and we done made a decision. That looks easy. But it's a lot of work go into where the decision you make. it's a lot of work go into the fact that you have to give up a large part of your personal life because people have access to you 24/7. What you gonna do? Tell somebody, no, man, it's 8 o'clock at night. I can't deal with your problem. No, you have to be able, at the very least, to listen.
People are calling you at 8 o'clock and you're
All
answering.
hours of the night.
You're answering all.
All hours of the
Yeah,
night.
Hector's out.
yeah,
Not gonna
yeah,
work.
yeah. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, that's not me at all. But
Yeah.
I mean,
No, but like seriously, if somebody calls you at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, you're
I'm answering
seriously
the phone.
answering.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if I sleep, that's a different story. But if I hear that phone ring and I see that number, I'm answering the phone.
Oh,
And
bless you.
it might be only for a brief moment. Hey, let me listen to your problem. Okay, I'm asleep right now. I'll get with you in the morning. Now, it's up to me to make sure I be there in the morning, But people generally, they respectful. You don't have people that just doing stuff, just blatantly calling you at 2 o'clock in the morning if it ain't a problem. It's funny that you say that because I got a call a couple of weeks ago from a man in the Brentwood area that he thought was a rabid squirrel. The squirrel was out there going crazy, just running around in the yard. And he was scared, him and his family. And I say, well, let me call animal control.
Well, that's my question is, why would he call you for that?
I don't know. And this is what you got to understand. Sometimes people can build a confidence in you where they have a problem and in the moment they can't think. So they say, I'm going to call my councilman. And I got to be the one to say, okay, I know this is not my job, but let me help you. Hold on a second. I'm going to get on my other phone and I'm going to call animal control. And I call animal control. And animal control say they couldn't do nothing with it. And I said, well, what you expect me to do? Well, I don't know. So I call him back. I say, animal control say they can't do nothing. He said, Mr. Marks, this squirrel is in the yard and it's bad. And in my mind, I'm picturing what he's saying. And I'm saying, hey, man, this can't be what you're saying it is. So I get in my truck. I say, hey, look, I got a BB gun and I got a net. I say, I'm coming to your house. So I go. And on the way there, I'm picturing in my mind, I'm saying, man, ain't no squirrel just, doing this. And show his stuff. I get to his house. The squirrel is literally in the yard, running around. So I say, okay, I take my crabbing net and I scoop it in the net. Now we got to figure out who gonna pick it up. I say, I'm not picking it up. So he say, shoot it. I say, no, you shoot it. And then I give him my BB gun and he give it back. So I say, oh, God, dog. So I shoot the squirrel. He stopped moving, but he ain't dead. I shoot him again. He moved a little bit. It's like the squirrel won't die.
oh, he wasn't cocaine.
Yeah.
Look, he was on something. Look,
And so-
you need to have
He
your
was
own
a-
reality show.
I finally shoot him again, and he dies. And we put him in a plastic bag, and we lock him up and put him in a trash can. But those type of things happen.
What you
Man.
would have done if that you would have went out there and
Oh,
seen
no,
about
he's a squirrel, man. Let squirrel do his thing, man. I mean,
That's
this-
what I'm
this-
saying.
I
Like,
mean,
look,
this squirrel
if
just
he's
like,
still there in the morning, call me in the
Man.
morning. We'll check
man,
him out.
whatever he took, he probably found a pill somewhere. He swallowed it,
Yeah.
and he's just going crazy. So he probably he's gonna win out eventually.
And those are things that
It's
you
gonna hurt
do.
people.
I think back on when I was campaigning. There were times that I needed to put a sign somewhere that was visible. And I don't know these people, but they'll see me out there putting signs up and they say, hey, Councilman Marks, go put a sign in my yard. And I said, where your yard at? That's my yard right there. The exact place that I need to put a sign.
Same place you killed that squirrel.
No. But it makes you feel good when somebody takes the initiative to say, hey, you can put a sign in my yard. That means that I've been doing the work pleasing to them at least, to where I ain't got to ask them. They say, hey, put one right there.
You better go put a sign on that yard with the squirrel for sure.
A billboard.
And that's just some of the things that I tell everybody to take this job because it ain't no money in it. You have to want to do this. You have to want to be a servant of the people in order to hold these positions. It's just like the mayor's position. You're in a position where you can get beat up every day of the week on a decision you made. Somebody think you falling short, but they don't understand the mentality and what you have to have in you to endure that. And especially if you got a family, because your family is going through this with you while you're going through it. It's all good to be recognized. It's all good to get the pat on the back. But are you ready for those days where you're not pleasing everybody that you're supposed to please? And you're on social media and you go through 7 posts and they all talking about you. You ain't this and you ain't that and you ain't doing nothing. and he need to be out of office. And that could be demoralizing sometimes, but you always have those people that you really did your best for that's going to come to your aid. Might not be on social media. Nobody might not ever see it. But when you pass them in that grocery store, when you pass them on the street, and they say, hey, keep doing what you're doing, then you know you're doing what God put you out there to do.
Yeah, that's well said. So what message do you have to give to the people of Lake Charles watching right now?
Right now, I guess the message to Lake Charles is I need the citizens to become more involved. Anytime you see two groups of people having a difference of opinion, but they're both have the right intentions to do the best for what they think the city needs, don't be mad at that. Don't look at that and say, oh, they causing trouble. No, that's people who care about their communities. We just don't always agree on things. But that's why we have city ordinances. That's why we have laws. That's why we have rules to dictate what we do. So I'm encouraging the people to become involved. Every issue that comes before the council is for everybody in the city of Lake Charles. It's not a District F issue. It's not a District A issue. It's a city issue. Because at some point, time or another, we all go throughout the city and we frequent whatever it may be. Just become involved. Stay active and don't rely on the people that you elected to be your end all do all. You elect me to do a job for you, I got the same expectation on you. You elected me to do this, come help me do it. Don't just put me out here by myself and expect me to make all the decisions. And when I make a decision that you don't agree with, you run in your mouth. Come to the meeting. Let me know. Call me. Let me know. Hey, this is what I think about the sports complex. This is what I think about the security issue that we're discussing right now. Here's what I think you should do. You could give me something that I'm limited in what I'm thinking about, because you got a lot of things as a councilman that go through your mind every day, not to mention the work that you're doing already on your own job for your own family, So I encourage the people, stay active. Don't just look at the meetings on TV and make it entertainment. Come to the meetings. We got some issues. I guarantee you, every week there's an issue that affects you, meaning the people that's out here listening to this video, there's an issue that's affecting you every week at the city council.
So last question, when you talk about messaging, what's the message you would have to mark that started day one? Knowing what you know now, what's the message that you would have for yourself on your first day as a city councilman?
Patience. Because you have to have patience to allow yourself to learn the process, to understand that most times, 99% of the times, the decisions are made are not personal. They're not personal. They're business. You have to think about growing the city. So it's not about you. It's not about you as an individual. It's about who you represent and the position that you hold. So if you don't have no patience, you'll never do this job. You can never do this job because patience allows you to argue with the person because we disagree about what should be done in this particular situation and being able to say, okay, I didn't get what I wanted this time, but now I got to go on to the next problem. I can't get caught up on this problem and ruin the rest of my decisions. So if you don't have patience to contemplate those things, to understand that you're not going to always be right, to understand you got to deal with 7 people that you have to agree. Well, 6 other people you got to agree with you on an issue. And that takes patience to call each and every individual and say, hey, man, what you think about this issue? And he got a different opinion. I say, well, what you think about this? And he might say, yeah, I agree with you, Craig. So I know, hey, you understand where I'm coming from when I do my argument? Yes. And now I got to call 5 more people to get 3 more votes because it takes 4 votes to pass anything. So if you don't have the patience, you're going to get tired and you're going to get burnt out.
So patience and a BB gun.
Patience and a BB gun.
So but the thing is, so let's say you had a discussion with somebody and then they promised you, they said they was going to vote your way. And then last minute, they changed their vote and maybe they was lying to you. So do you take that personal or is it like something that you just know this is part of politics or this is part of the job?
Listen, I can't say that sometimes I don't take it personal because we're human. If you told me you was going to vote for me and I did a good job, it's going to disappoint me if you don't go. But I'll never know because I can't go in the booth with you. You know, you could lie to me and say you voted for me and you didn't. You know,
Okay.
so, but I do understand that's part of this political system that I chose to be a part of. And I understand everybody not going to like you. Everybody not going to vote for you.
No, I was talking about like in the city council, like your councilman.
Oh, no, I don't take it personal. Now, do I get in my feelings sometimes? Yes, because I'm passionate about whatever it is I'm fighting for.
Okay.
And I know me as a councilman, I rarely, if ever, vote or cast a vote on something that I didn't go research, that I done looked at every angle. Now, am I always right? No. There are some smarter people out there. I'm not always the smartest, the sharpest knife in the drawer. And if I am the sharpest knife in the drawer, we're in trouble because what's the standard? You
But
know
I
what
mean,
I'm saying?
but that kind of pretty much like break your choice. So then for that person that said he wanted to vote with you but decided to vote against you, so when he got the same thing, would you like retaliation? Or is
No,
that like come-
because what I try to keep in mind is that it's not a vote for Craig or a vote for Vadim. It's a vote for the people you represent. So if you vote against me today, right? And tomorrow there's an issue that affects 100 people in your district, really affects them. I'm going to pay you back by hurting them. That don't, to me, I can't speak for any other councilman. For me. Now, you might not like the way I argue. You might not like the passion that I have, and that's your choice. But when I'm arguing a point, I'm going to give every one of my councilmen all the information that I could possibly give them so they can make an educated guess. They're not just believing it because Craig said it. Believe it because Craig said it and he producing facts. Now, if you vote against me, that's your choice. You got to live with it.
Okay. Any other questions you got?
think we're done.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I asked you, what you want your legacy to be, you already said that. I mean, I think it was a great conversation. I think I wanted to bring you back because we're doing season 2, and because I'm in the city of Lake Charles. The last time, I recorded the mayor already, but I feel like I wanted to have a city councilman that can come and explain, to the people of Lake Charles what's really going on,
Right.
or the project that people might not know. I think the last time when you tell me they was gonna do a highway, is it like a highway between and Ryan Street, something like that? Is this?
Yes,
is this-
it's being built right now. It's
Okay.
on the corner of 12th Street, Sallier. They're doing the bridge to connect that particular area with the Nelson Road area to alleviate some of the traffic. So by the time next summer, you may see the completion of it.
And then there you were saying they was gonna have that the hotel in the city
Downtown?
downtown.
Oh, downtown. Well, that's still in the works.
Okay.
With the change of administration, they have to go through some more details of it, but it's still in the works. As far as we know right now, unless something changes it, as of right now, we will at some point have a hotel either on the Civic Center ground or somewhere else.
And there was another one like those houses that was building on Lake Street across where Holiday Inn used to be. It's not Holiday Inn no more. And is it Lake Street? Yeah,
Lake and 18th Street.
Yes.
They've completed that project. They've completed it as far as them demolishing all the houses. If you go there now, they have the Mid-City Lofts there. That's the first buildings that they built on that. Now, that particular piece of property is not city property, but it's a replica of what the houses are going to look like in the other part. When you go and you see all the land that's cleared behind the mall off of 18th Street,
Yeah.
pretty soon, within the next couple of years, that's going to be all filled with houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be
Who's
affordable.
heading that project?
Well, it's a bunch of people, a bunch of private-public partnerships. The Housing Authority is the main driving force with that, along with a bunch of private investors that came in, and you're going to have a mixed community where you're going to have low income with top-end market rate houses. So that's the new design that's going on around the country. It seems to work pretty good in other parts of the country. So Lake Charles has the opportunity through grants and different things like that to make that happen there. So that's public-private partnerships.
So I said all that. So is anything else that's new that from the last time we speak that?
Well, we have the enterprise extension is supposed to take place in the next year or so. That's where we're going to create another evacuation route from the north-south part of the city, but it's going to widen. I don't know if you're familiar with the enterprise extension area to 171, Fitzgerald Road, all that area.
Yeah.
It's going to become a boulevard that will go either, we're still in the developmental stages, portion going to be a 3-lane, and portions may eventually be a 4-lane. But right now, the plans are to build a 3-lane that goes from 171 to the connection where it is right now, where we left off at the corner of Moreland and Enterprise. That's going to be happening. We have the Country Club extension that's going to take place. That's at the corner of McNeese and University, and it's going to go all the way to Big Lake Road. That road is going to be revamped and redone by funding from the city, the parish, and the state. That's going to take place along with other housing projects. We have some housing projects that are taking place on Fitzgerald Road with Project Build a Future. They're building some homes there that they're going to be offering to civil servants. And we say offering to civil servants because of the price range. It's going to be in the 250s, somewhere around there. That's going to develop that North Lake Charles area around Fitzgerald Road where the sports complex was supposed to be.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of retirement. Now, I say retirement, and we got to be careful how we use these names because these places are not just meant for retired people or elderly people. But there are new housing complexes that are coming. There's one on 6th Avenue that has been built on just off the corner of 6th Avenue and 6th Street. You'll know it because it's new by the old Ross Street School. We have one that's built on Fitzgerald Road next to the Riverside Center. That's by the water. That's going to be built there. We have the lofts that's coming on 18th Street. That's going to be another housing complex, that route. And I need to put out there that a lot of people don't understand that we're changing in Lake Charles. The Housing Authority is no longer doing the projects that you used to see across the nation, where you go in a part of town and you see projects, those houses like the old Booker T. Washington, the old Sunlight Manor. We're getting away from that and we building independent housing now. So that you're going to start to see that new type of housing coming, in different areas of the town. So we got a lot of things that are going on. If you pay attention to the Highway 14 area, we're revamping the streets. The streets are being repaved so that cars don't get towed up because that was a long time coming. But I need people to understand that wasn't under the purview of the city. That's the Department of Transportation that comes down from the federal government. So we were waiting on funding, which is why it took so long. So that is happening, among other things.
Well, what about 12th Street? Is it 12? Yeah, 12th Street, all the way to...
That's the Sallier Street. We call it 12th Street. The tracks that run by the
but
Walmart.
I mean, that
It
road...
transitions into the Sallier.
Yeah, but that road right there is terrible. Right?
Well, we are finna move the tracks. We're moving the tracks, I think, all the way north. So in the next 2 years, you're probably gonna have 4-lane street that goes through there. That's gonna be smooth sailing. The tracks will be moved and everything.
Okay, what about where they gonna put in that old Kroger that used to be right there?
Well, we've met with the person that owns it. It's privately owned. We've given them some stipulations. We're working with them to try and bring something to that area. So we're waiting back. I think they're supposed to come back before the council either the first part of January or February. And they're going to deliver to us a plan of what they have for the old Kroger's area.
So how does, for individuals or just for the public, if they want to get all these updates, do they go online and watch every single meeting, or do y'all have an area online that you can just see all the updates that are coming?
The agenda is posted. It has to be posted. Generally, we put it in City Hall, but you can go to the city's website and you can find out about all these different projects. Everything is posted when we do it or when they're pending. They're on the city website. So you can go and find out about all of that.
Have you looked at it?
No, I never. That's what I got Craig for.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go look at it and pull it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if
I
you
got
have
Craig.
any problems or anything like that, you can just look at the city directory and call the departments. You can call planning and zoning, you can call permitting, and you can find out about all these different projects that are going on.
Craig, pick up the phone, 9 p.m., 12
Yeah.
a.m., 2 a.m.
Call me, and I'll
Just Craig.
give you a number to call.
Give me a number to call.
But I mean,
You can post it on your site too.
yeah. But thank you so much, man. I mean, I think that was very informative, and that was a great conversation.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me, man, and I hope I'll be back for term number 3.
Yeah,
That's yet to be determined, though. I'll let you know.
Yeah, but I mean, so keep doing what you're doing. That's what I would say. Not everybody's gonna agree with you. Some people is gonna say, you're loud. Maybe some people might not like that.
Right.
Some people might love that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's who you are. So you
Right.
don't change that because to appease somebody else. But that's what people voted
Right.
for you. That's why people elected you. So I'll just say keep doing what you're doing and
Appreciate it.
be good at it.
Best of luck in the future. That's what.
Appreciate it. Same to both of y'all. Keep it up.
But
That's-
you can hear and you can feel your passion behind what you
I
do.
hope so.
What you do.
Most
So,
people.
and I don't know if it's loud or a tonality
Well, it
thing. I
depends.
think it's just your passion.
I'm a loud talker, and if you go and you observe the meetings, most people don't understand. I talk this way all the time. So now it depends on how you feel about me at that moment, whether it's arguing or whether I'm just talking loud. And all I know how to be is me. So that's all I can be.
Yeah, there you go. That's a song right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everybody, for watching. So like, share, and subscribe. And if you got anything you wanted to add it in the comments. So, and I'll check every comment. So thank you so much.
Do you read all, just like personally, do you go online and like read people's comments?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Bless you.
I may not
don't
read them all.
Nothing.
Yeah. That gives me a guide, because sometimes if I can read and see all the criticisms, it motivates me.